The first truth no one tells you about becoming a millionaire is that it doesn't start with money. Sounds contradictory, right? But the reality is that wealth begins in the mind. How you think, react, feel, and behave in the face of small things determines what you will have in the future. Most people believe the secret lies in earning more, working more, or finding the perfect idea. But what truly separates millionaires from ordinary people is a specific set of internal teachings, silent, invisible, yet powerful. And that's what we're going to talk about here. It's not about luck. It's not about inheritance. It's not about being born in the right place. It's about building from within what you want to see on the outside. It's about creating a mental foundation so solid that nothing from the outside can knock it down. It's about understanding that before you have $1 million in the bank, you need to have $1 million of conviction in your heart. Many people will never discover this because they are distracted, busy trying to survive, complaining about life, blaming the government, the crisis, their salary. And so the years go by, and the dreams fade. The mind gets used to little, and the more it gets used to little, the less it believes it deserves much. This creates an invisible blockage, a wall that prevents you from seeing and accessing everything that is already available, but seems distant. The problem isn't the world out there. The problem is how the mind has been programmed to see the world. What we're going to do here is reprogram that. New ink, new code, new mindset. It's as if you've lived your whole life seeing the world through a blurry, stained, distorted lens. And now you're going to clean that lens. You're going to replace it with a new one. You're going to start seeing the same things in a completely different way. And when your vision changes, everything changes along with it. Decisions change. Choices change. Results change. And here's a warning, this isn't for everyone, because thinking differently takes work. It doesn't hurt physically, but it's unsettling, especially when you need to stop deceiving yourself, stop repeating excuses you've been telling yourself for years. A millionaire isn't someone who has $1 million in the bank. A millionaire is someone who has a mindset that produces millions. This mindset is rare because it requires discipline, attention, and courage. But those who decide to apply it change their lives, not because the world changed, but because they changed inside. Because they started to see themselves differently. They started to treat themselves differently. They started to demand a different standard from themselves. And the world, which is just a reflection of what you carry inside, started to respond differently too. This isn't magic. This is a consequence. Everything is a consequence. Your bank account is a consequence. Your lifestyle is a consequence. Your relationships are a consequence of what you think, what you believe, what you repeat to yourself every day without even realizing it.
Before continuing with the teachings, make sure you've subscribed to the channel. But only do this if you believe you were born to enjoy the best this earth has to offer. If this makes sense to you, say it out loud now. I am ready to prosper. And if you truly are, write in the comments, my mind is becoming a millionaire. Write this to solidify this idea. Your brain needs repetition to believe. The more you write, the more you believe. The more you believe, the more results you see. Because belief isn't just a vague feeling. Belief is the foundation of all sustained action. You will only do something every day if you believe it's worthwhile. You will only persist if you believe it will work. You will only continue when everyone else gives up if you have an unwavering belief that your destiny is different. And this belief needs to be built. It doesn't fall from the sky. It doesn't appear out of nowhere. You build it word by word, thought by thought, decision by decision. Most people live with their minds programmed for scarcity. They grew up hearing that money is hard to come by, that it's not for everyone, that it's better to have a secure job than to dream big. And this became an internal truth. But every truth can be replaced. You are not obligated to continue believing what you've been taught, especially if what you've been taught is keeping you trapped. Start observing. How do you talk about money? How do you think about rich people? How do you react when you see someone prospering? All of this shows where your programming is. And if your mind rejects the wealth of others, it will never accept your own wealth. It's impossible. Because the mind works like a filter. If you look at someone successful and feel anger, envy, or think they must have stolen, they must have been lucky, they must have stepped on others, your mind is telling you, wealth is bad, wealth is immoral, wealth is not for me. And as long as you carry this, you will sabotage any attempt to prosper. You will give up at the first difficulty. You will think you don't deserve it. You'll be convinced that it's not possible. That's because deep down the programming is still running the old code. Changing this starts with awareness. It starts when you stop acting on autopilot and begin questioning the thoughts that arise. It starts when you realize you don't have to live like most people do. And most importantly, it starts when you take responsibility. Because it's much easier to blame everything and everyone than to look in the mirror and say, I still don't have what I want because I still think like someone who will never have it. That phrase hurts. That phrase is unsettling. But that phrase liberates. Because the moment you acknowledge that the problem lies in your way of thinking, you also discover that the solution is in your hands. It doesn't depend on the government. It doesn't depend on the economy. It doesn't depend on your boss. It depends on you, on your willingness to change, on your courage to face the truth, on your discipline to do the inner work that no one sees, but that everyone will feel when you start to change your life. You need to feed your mind with new ideas, with affirmations that pave the way. Affirmations aren't magic phrases, they're commands. The brain needs clear commands. It needs to hear every day that you are building wealth, that you deserve the best, that you are ready to receive. But it's no use just repeating. You need to feel what you're saying. You need to see yourself already living it. You need to create such a strong mental image that your brain starts working all the time to transform it into reality. Because the brain is a problem-solving machine. It doesn't judge whether the problem is good or bad, it just solves it. If you give it the problem, how am I going to pay the bills? It will work on that. If you give it the problem, how am I going to build wealth? It will also work on that. The difference is gigantic. One keeps you surviving. The other puts you on a path to prosperity, and you choose which problem you give it to solve, every day, with every thought, with every word. And here's a secret that few understand. The brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined with emotion. If you truly feel something, it believes it. And if it believes it, it starts to change your perception, your attitudes, your decisions. Suddenly, you begin to see opportunities where before you only saw problems. You begin to react calmly where before you despaired. You begin to behave like a person who is growing, not like someone who is sinking. This changes everything, because reality is not objective. Reality is interpreted. Two people can be in the same situation, and one sees misfortune while the other sees possibility. The difference isn't in the situation. It's in each person's mind. And when you train your mind to interpret everything as a possibility, as learning, as a springboard, you stop being a victim and become a protagonist. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop complaining and start building. And then, my friend, then you become unstoppable, but you need to be willing to do this inner work. Every day, wake up and feed your mind with words that build you up. Cut out the complaints. Cancel scarcity thoughts. Avoid conversations that hold you back. All of this is discipline, and discipline is what separates those who want from those who achieve. Those who achieve do so because they decided to continue even when the whole world said it was impossible. Those who want give up at the first sign of difficulty, and wealth demands consistency. It demands that you do today what you don't want to do to have tomorrow what most will never have. It demands that you wake up when your body wants to sleep. It demands that you study when your mind wants distraction. It demands that you invest when everyone else is spending. It demands that you plant when everyone else is harvesting. Because the millionaire's cycle is different. They plant first, they wait, they nurture, they water, and only then do they harvest. And when they harvest so much that it's enough to feed generations. But most people want to harvest without planting. They want results without effort. They want transformation without change. And that doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. Think about it. How many years have you spent repeating negative phrases about money, thinking it was difficult, that it wasn't possible, that it was only for a select few? Now you need to dedicate at least the same amount of time and energy to thinking differently. It doesn't happen overnight. But with practice, your mind will change. And when your mind changes, the external results change too. Therefore, every day declare, "I am a millionaire mind." It doesn't matter how much you have today. This isn't about what you have. It's about what you are becoming. Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you are scarcity inside, you will attract scarcity outside. If you are abundance inside, you will attract abundance outside. And what you are is not fixed. You choose every day. With every thought, with every word you speak to yourself, you are shaping yourself. You are building yourself. You are becoming. And what you will be in 5 years is decided by what you think today, by what you repeat today, by what you believe today. And pay attention to one more thing. Most people want to be rich, but act like poor people. They waste time on distractions, talk about problems, focus on what they don't have, and live waiting for external change. This is the pattern for most. That's why 95% will never discover these teachings, because they are waiting for a miracle. They are waiting for someone to come and save them. And the truth is, nobody will. You are the one who will save you, with thought, with attitude, with repetition, and especially with decision. The decision that you no longer accept living like this. The decision that you deserve more. The decision that you will do whatever it takes to change. And when you truly make that decision, not just with your mouth, but with your soul, everything starts to move. Doors start to open, people start to appear, ideas start to emerge, not because the universe conspired in your favor, but because you changed the frequency. You stopped emitting despair and started emitting determination, and the world responds to the frequency you emit. It has always been this way. It always will be this way. From now on, repeat to yourself every day, "I deserve to live in abundance. I allow wealth to enter my life. I am a millionaire mind." Say this with intention, with will, looking into your own eyes if possible. This is not nonsense. This is reprogramming. You are teaching your mind to think like someone who has, not like someone who lacks. You are creating a new pattern, and over time, this pattern becomes natural. And when it becomes natural, everything changes. Your financial decisions change. Your posture changes, your energy changes. The people around you begin to see you differently. They begin to respect you more. They begin to take you seriously because you have changed the way you see yourself. And when you change the way you see yourself, the world changes the way it sees you too. It's automatic. It's inevitable. It's a law. Now, if you've made it this far, it's because you're taking this seriously. So take a deep breath and answer in the comments. My mind is being reprogrammed for wealth. I want to see who will declare this firmly. Write it down now and commit to your transformation, because only those who declare it clearly transform consistently. And consistency is everything. It's the difference between those who dream and those who achieve, between those who try and those who conquer, between those who start and those who finish. Your millionaire mind is being built now. At this very moment, with every word you read, with every declaration you make, with every thought you choose to nurture, you are on the path. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up. Because on the other side of this journey is the life you've always wanted, and it's waiting for you. One of the first changes that happens in the mind of someone who decides to become a millionaire on the inside before becoming one on the outside is breaking the pattern of complaining. Look at the people around you. Most of them spend the day complaining about the weather, the traffic, the price of things, their boss, life. And why is this so dangerous? Because the human mind adapts to what it repeats. Every time you complain, you are reinforcing the idea that you are a victim, that you have no control, that the world is against you. And those who think like that never build real wealth. They may even earn some money, but they lose it all afterward. Because the mind is not programmed to keep what it has achieved. It's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. Water may enter, but it doesn't stay. And you spend your whole life in this cycle. You earn a little, lose everything, earn again, lose again. and you never understand why. The answer lies in the internal programming. It's in the thought patterns you've carried since childhood. It's in the way you interpret reality. And until you change that, nothing really changes. This is one of the great secrets that almost no one talks about. Wealth isn't just about acquiring it. It's about maintaining and multiplying it, and that only happens with an adjusted mindset. Have you ever seen people who won a fortune and lost it all? Lottery, inheritance, businesses that grew rapidly. The money came outwardly, but inwardly the mind was still lacking. They still lived in fear, still felt guilty, still thought they didn't deserve it. The result? Reality reorganized itself to return to the person's internal pattern. Therefore, the most important teaching isn't how to make money, but rather how to become someone who thinks, acts, and decides like a millionaire. Because when you become that person, money is a natural consequence. It comes because you are vibrating at the right frequency. You are thinking right. You are acting right. You are making the right decisions. And the universe, which is merely a reflection of your internal state, begins to return that to you in the form of opportunities, connections, ideas, and results. It's not luck. It's alignment. It's coherence between who you are inside and who you manifest outside. Internally wealthy people think differently when faced with the same problems that hold others back. They have trained their minds to see beyond the obvious. While many say this is too expensive, those with a prosperous mindset ask, how can I generate more value to have this without fear? The question changes, and with it, the path changes. Because the mind begins to look for solutions, not excuses. You can start doing this today. Every time a limiting thought comes, question it. Replace it with a question that pushes you forward. For example, instead of saying, I'll never achieve this, say, what haven't I learned yet that can lead me to this? It seems simple, but it changes everything. Because you move from the victim position to the learner position. You move from paralysis to action. You move from complaining to building. And this change in attitude, however small it may seem, is what separates those who remain stuck from those who advance. Those who remain stuck keep repeating the same phrases. Those who advance keep asking the right questions. And the right questions generate the right answers. The right answers generate the right actions. The right actions lead to the right results. Furthermore, there's an emotional pattern that needs to be broken. Most people feel guilty when they desire wealth. Internally, there's a voice that says, wanting more is wrong, that you should be grateful for the little you have, that too much money spoils things. These voices come from childhood, school, family, religion, and society. And no matter how rationally you want to get rich, these voices sabotage everything. It's like trying to run with the handbrake on. It won't work. And the worst part is, you don't even realize it. You just feel stuck, tired, frustrated. You feel like you work hard and don't get anywhere. You feel like you're trying hard, but the results aren't coming. And then you start to think the problem is the world, the economy, the lack of opportunity. But the problem is internal. It's emotional. It's an invisible war happening inside you between what you want and what you've been taught to believe you deserve. And until this war is resolved, you will continue to sabotage your own achievements. You will continue to give up prematurely. You will continue to find excuses not to act. Because deep down, you haven't given yourself permission to thrive. Therefore, an essential step is to start observing your feelings about money. How do you feel when you imagine having a lot of money? If guilt, shame, or fear arise, that's the blockage. You need to replace those emotions. You need to start associating wealth with freedom, with the power of choice, with well-being, not with arrogance, corruption, or evil. That's what the world has taught you. But you can teach your mind something else. Affirmations help with that. Visualization too. But mainly the daily repetition of new ideas. That's what creates a solid foundation for money to arrive and stay. Because it's no use attracting money if you don't have the emotional structure to hold on to it. It's no use earning a lot if you feel dirty, wrong, guilty for having it. You will find a way to get rid of that. You will spend unnecessarily. You will invest wrongly. You will make bad decisions, all because inside you don't feel deserving. And money, which is energy, only stays where it is welcome. It only stays where there is receptivity. It only stays where there is alignment. Now think about this. If your mind is still trapped in fear, guilt, and the feeling that you don't deserve it, how will it allow you to grow financially? It won't. It will find a way to protect you from what it considers dangerous, even if that danger is exactly what you want. Therefore, your job now is to train your mind to accept the idea of having more, to see money as an ally, as a natural consequence of a strengthened mindset. The more you train this, the more natural it becomes. And when it becomes natural, you start acting differently. Your decisions change, your choices improve, and over time your reality follows suit. You stop sabotaging yourself. You start allowing. You start receiving. You start building. And the most interesting thing, you start attracting people, situations, and opportunities that are on the same frequency. Because like attracts like. Prosperity attracts prosperity. Scarcity attracts scarcity. And you choose which frequency you will emit through your thoughts, your words, your emotions, your beliefs. Another essential point that almost no one teaches, the power of habits. People want different results, but they continue with the same habits every day. They wake up complaining, live distracted, consume useless content, hang out with negative people, speak ill of others, and then wonder why life isn't moving forward. Do you want to be a millionaire? Start by observing how you are using your time. Millionaires don't waste energy on what doesn't build anything. They take care of what enters their minds as they would take care of what enters their bodies. They are selective, intentional, and disciplined. They know that every minute is an investment. Every conversation is a seed. Every thought is an order given to the brain. And that's why they protect all of this with great care. It's not arrogance. It's not selfishness. It's strategy. It's awareness. It's understanding that you become what you consume. If you consume mediocrity, you become mediocre. If you consume excellence, you become excellent. It's that simple. There's no middle ground. There are no exceptions. It's a universal law. Here's a practice that can change your level of awareness. Every day, write down 3 habits you need to eliminate and 3 you need to build. Do this for 30 days. It will seem simple, but you'll see how much your attention will increase. You'll stop living on autopilot and start living with clarity, and clarity is the first step to wealth. There are no confused millionaires. Those who are confused freeze. Those who are clear act. Those who are clear know exactly what they want, why they want it, and what they need to do to get there. They don't waste time with distractions. They don't change direction every week. They don't wait for motivation to fall from the sky. They have a plan. They have a purpose. They have a vision. And they work every day to transform that vision into reality. That's what makes the difference. That's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Those who dream remain in the realm of desire. Those who achieve transform desire into discipline, and discipline into results. Let's talk about the environment now. Your mind is shaped by what you hear, see, and feel every day. If you live surrounded by people who think small, who are afraid, who mock those who dream big, who think money is for thieves, you will absorb that energy. Even if you try to think differently, that influence will weigh you down. Therefore, it's necessary to create a stronger internal environment than the external one. This means protecting your attention, carefully selecting what you watch, what you listen to, and who you talk to. Sometimes you can't change the environment now, but you can change how you react to it. You can decide to nourish yourself from other sources. You can spend more time listening to content that lifts you up. You can replace an hour of distraction with an hour of mental reprogramming. And that makes all the difference, because you are not a tree. You are not stuck to the ground. If the environment you are in doesn't nourish you, you can seek nourishment elsewhere. You can look for books. You can look for videos. You can look for podcasts. You can look for virtual mentors. You can create an inner circle of positive influences, even if you are still physically surrounded by negativity. And over time, as you change, the environment around you also begins to change. Either you change your environment, or you change the people around you, or you become so strong that nothing can shake you anymore. Either way, you win. Here's a practical suggestion. Starting today, before going to sleep and upon waking up, take 5 minutes to visualize your life as you want it to be. Imagine yourself at peace with financial freedom, tranquility, and comfort. See the details. Feel as if you are already living it. This will reprogram your brain because it records more intensely what you feel at those 2 moments of the day. This is technique. It's neuroscience. It's not magic. It's intelligent repetition. It's you using the brain's natural functioning to your advantage. Because the brain doesn't know how to differentiate a real experience from an experience imagined with emotion. If you imagine it strongly enough, if you truly feel it, the brain registers it as if it has already happened. And then it starts working to make it real. It starts showing you paths. It starts giving you ideas. It starts making you perceive opportunities that were always there, but that you didn't see because you weren't programmed to see them. And suddenly everything starts to fall into place. Not because you were lucky, but because you prepared yourself internally first. The problem is that most people don't do this because they think it's silly, they think it's slow, they think it's pointless, and that's why they remain stuck. Because they're waiting for a change to come from the outside, and while they wait, they repeat the same patterns. Whoever changes internally first transforms what's outside later. That's the correct sequence. That's the natural order of things. You'll never see lasting external results without profound internal change. You might have a peak here, an achievement there, but it won't sustain, it won't expand, it won't multiply, because the foundation isn't solid. And everything that doesn't have a solid foundation crumbles. Sooner or later it crumbles. Therefore, build the foundation first. Build the mindset, build the belief, build the discipline, build the habits, build the vision, and then let the external world reflect all of that. Let reality reorganize itself to fit the new you, because it will. It always will. It's inevitable. It's automatic. It's how you are inside that determines how you live outside. It's always been that way. It always will be. And now I want you to stop for a moment, take a deep breath and declare aloud, "My mind is becoming a magnet for wealth." Speak firmly, and write this in the comments to really fix it in your mind. I am building millionaire habits. Write with conviction. Because when you write, you record. When you record, you believe. And when you believe, you achieve. There is no other way. There are no shortcuts. There is no secret formula hidden somewhere waiting for you to discover. The secret is here. It's in repetition, it's in discipline, it's in the daily decision to think, speak, and act like someone who already is what you want to become. And the more you do this, the more you become it. Until one day you look back and realize that you are no longer pretending. You are no longer trying, you simply are. You are the millionaire mind. You are the prosperous person. You are the result of everything you planted, watered, and cared for with patience and consistency. And then, my friend, then you understand that every second of this process was worth it. Because you didn't just gain money, you conquered yourself. And that no one can take away from you, ever. There's one thing that completely separates those who live a limited life from those who achieve true prosperity: the level of responsibility a person takes for their own life. While most people blame everything and everyone, those who develop a millionaire mindset stop and think, what can I do with what I have now? This simple question completely changes the focus. It takes the person out of the victim position and puts them in the position of being in control. And whoever is in control has power. The millionaire mindset doesn't wait for luck to arrive. It creates the ground for good things to manifest. And this has nothing to do with magic. It has to do with mental maturity. It has to do with understanding that you don't control the world, but you control how you react to the world. And this reaction, this internal response, is what determines everything. It's what decides whether you will grow or stagnate, whether you will evolve or repeat, whether you will prosper or survive. And the difference between these two paths lies in this daily choice, in this conscious decision to stop blaming and start building. What 95% of people don't understand is that wealth will never come to those who constantly run away from the responsibility of change. Because wealth requires commitment, it requires decisions, it requires consistency. It's not about having the right answers all the time, but about stopping making the same old excuses. A scarcity mindset always has a ready-made justification. But I didn't have the opportunity. But it's difficult in my city. But so-and-so had help. All of this may have a grain of truth, but it doesn't change anything. As long as you keep repeating this, you are feeding the same scarcity that holds you back. You are reinforcing the belief that you have no power. You are convincing yourself that the problem is outside when in fact the problem is inside. And the worst part, you are wasting precious energy that could be used to build, to learn, to move forward. But instead, you spend it all justifying why you can't. And then the years go by, and you remain in the same place, with the same complaints, with the same excuses, with the same results. Now the question is, what do you want to feed? Justification or change? Because the two don't go together. Either you protect your excuses or you build your new reality. And that's where most people get stuck, because letting go of excuses is uncomfortable. It's easier to say it can't be done than to admit that it can be done. But you'll need to do things differently. You'll need to act when you're afraid. You'll need to persist when the results don't come immediately. And that's when most people return to their mental comfort zone. But the 5% who move forward, those learn to endure the discomfort of transformation. And that's why they win. Because they understand that growth is uncomfortable by nature, that change hurts. That evolution requires you to leave behind old versions of yourself. And that's not easy. Nobody said it would be, but it's necessary. Because if you continue being who you've always been, you'll continue having what you've always had. And if what you've always had doesn't satisfy you, then you have no choice. You need to change. You need to become another person. A new person, with new thoughts, with new habits, with new standards. And that only happens when you accept discomfort as part of the process. It's important to understand that a millionaire mindset is built, not born ready-made. You may have been raised in a world of scarcity. You may have spent years hearing that you would never succeed. You may even have failed multiple times. None of that defines what you can become from the moment you decide to change. And change, here, means changing your focus, changing your discourse, changing your choices. It starts small, with simple but consistent decisions. For example, instead of starting the day complaining, you start by giving thanks. Instead of consuming just any content, you choose what strengthens you. Instead of repeating that it's difficult, you affirm that you are learning to make it easy. This gradually reprograms your mind until it becomes compatible with the life you want to live. Because compatibility is everything. You cannot live a life of abundance with a scarcity mindset. You cannot build wealth with thoughts of poverty. You cannot prosper with beliefs of failure. It doesn't work, it never has, it never will. Therefore, change needs to begin from within. It needs to begin in the way you think, in the way you talk to yourself. It's about how you interpret what happens around you, and when you change that, everything changes along with it, automatically, inevitably. People with a wealthy mindset ask themselves every day, how can I become better? They know that inner growth comes before outer growth, and that's why, even when they make mistakes, they continue to grow, because the right question always pulls the mind forward. Those who think small, on the other hand, live trapped in the wrong question. Why me? Why does this always happen? These questions only reinforce the idea of powerlessness, of failure, of being a victim. And victims don't prosper. Victims survive. And surviving isn't living, it's just spending days waiting for something to change on its own. It's standing still, waiting for a miracle that never comes. Because miracles don't happen for those who wait. Miracles happen for those who act, for those who move, for those who decide they will no longer accept mediocrity as the standard. And then, when you act, when you move, when you decide, the universe conspires in your favor. Not because you asked, but because you became compatible with what you want. You vibrated at the right frequency, you emitted the right signal, and the world responded. Simple as that. If you truly want to break free from this mental bubble, start practicing a powerful exercise, self-responsibility. Everything that happens in your life is your responsibility. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to change. When you understand this, you stop sabotaging yourself. You stop shifting blame. And most importantly, you begin to regain control. And those who have internal control create external results, because they don't depend on anything but themselves. It may take time, but it will happen. Because they didn't stop moving. Because they didn't give up. Because they didn't surrender. Because they accepted that the responsibility was theirs. And when you take full responsibility for your life, you also take full power over it. You cease to be a hostage of circumstances. You cease to be a slave to external conditions. You cease to be a victim of fate. And you become the creator of your own reality. And that is the difference between those who live reacting and those who live creating. Those who react are always on the defensive, always chasing after something, always trying to put out fires. Those who create are always on the offensive, always one step ahead, always anticipating, always building, and construction always wins over reaction. Always. Now there's another point that also keeps many people stuck: the fear of judgment. How many times have you stopped yourself from taking a step because you were thinking about what others would say? This is more common than it seems. The scarcity mindset has this pattern. It worries more about pleasing others than pleasing itself. It lives trying to fit in, to justify itself, to hide. And the more it tries to please everyone, the further it gets from its own essence. The result? It wastes time, it wastes energy, it wastes opportunities. The millionaire inside understands that no one will live your life for you. So why give so much power to the opinions of others? Why let people who don't even know what you feel, don't know your dreams, don't understand your journey, decide what you can or cannot do? This makes no sense at all. But most people live like this. They live trapped in the approval of others. They live dependent on external recognition. And while they live like this, they are never free, they are never authentic, they are never truly prosperous, because prosperity demands authenticity. It demands that you be yourself, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it pushes people away, even if it's misinterpreted. You need to break free from that. You need to train your mind to remember every day, I'm the one who pays my bills, I'm the one who wakes up with me, I'm the one who will reap the fruits, good or bad, of my choices. So why live in fear of what others think? Those who think big bother those who think small, that's a fact. But you're not here to be accepted, you're here to prosper. And prosperity doesn't go hand in hand with fear. Prosperity goes hand in hand with truth, with courage, with authenticity, and with decision. Because in the end, when you look back, it won't matter how many people applauded you. What will matter is how many times you were true to what you believed in. How many times you had the courage to follow your path, even when everyone said you were wrong. How many times you chose yourself instead of choosing the approval of others. And these choices, these courageous decisions, are what build an extraordinary life. A real life. A life worth living. Another lesson ignored by most: the importance of silent consistency. People want quick, visible, impressive results. But true wealth is built in silence, with small, daily, firm steps. While others are distracted, you focus. While others give up, you persist. While others talk, you act. This consistency is invisible at first. Nobody notices. Nobody recognizes it. But over time, the results appear. And then everyone calls it luck. But you know it was a decision, it was a choice, it was internal effort, it was discipline, it was repetition, it was consistency, every day. Even when you didn't feel like it, even when it seemed like it wasn't working, even when nobody was watching, you continued. And this continuity, this silent persistence is what separates the 5% from the 95%. Because anyone can start, anyone can have a good day, but few can continue. Few can maintain the pace when the excitement fades, when the novelty wears off, when nobody is applauding. And that's exactly where real transformation happens. In silence, in invisibility, in the constancy that no one sees, but that everyone will feel when the results appear. Here's a practical exercise for you to apply today. Choose a small but powerful action that you will repeat every day for 90 days. It could be writing affirmations, visualizing your ideal life, meditating for 5 minutes, listening to mindset content, anything that strongly fuels your mind, but repeat it every day, even on bad days, even when you don't feel like it, because that's how a new mental pattern is formed. And mental patterns build realities. They determine how you think, how you act, how you decide, and in the end they determine what you achieve, because you don't achieve what you want, you achieve what you are, and you are the result of your patterns, of your habits, of your daily repetitions. Therefore, choose carefully what you will repeat. Because in 90 days you won't be the same person. You will have evolved, you will have grown, you will have transformed, but only if you have the discipline to repeat, only if you have the consistency to continue, only if you have the maturity not to give up when it gets difficult. Now say it out loud with conviction. I am responsible for my financial transformation. And write it in the comments to fix it in your brain. The responsibility is mine, and I will prosper. Write it down. Commit to this new phase, because real change only happens when you take control of what you think, what you feel, and what you decide. And when you take that control, when you stop being a passenger and become the driver of your own life, everything changes. Fear diminishes, confidence increases, clarity appears, and you begin to move in the right direction, with firm steps, with conscious decisions, with an inner certainty that you will get where you want to go, not because it's easy, but because you decided it's possible. And that decision, that inner conviction, is the fuel that will take you to the end, to fulfillment, to prosperity, to the life you always knew you deserved, but that only now you are willing to build.